right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Mike, this is my beautiful wife Denise, and you are the first folks to hear about the talk that we've developed for my new book that I have, which is called Live to 150. And before I begin the talk, and Denise begins to talk, I'm just curious as to how many people here are from Island Walk. If you could raise your hand so we can see, and then who's not. I'm sure see, okay, just one, okay. We had more RCPs, we're just trying to get an idea of who's coming from where. Anyway, the whole idea behind the book is, first of all, it's free. I have nothing to sell, okay? It's on our YouTube channel. aPlantBasedDiet.org is the name of our nonprofit. This is our mission statement right here, improving lives by raising awareness and advocating for the use of food as medicine. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, so we wanted to get what I think is the ultimate guide to living your best life, is how I describe it. 150 is just a number in terms of years, where I think that that's the goal, and that was what can be expected, because the way we look at things is that no one's really been taught how to optimize their health from birth. So we all have to learn this stuff. And I think that really, we're only just now beginning to put it all together. The Blue Zones was kind of one of the first organizations to kind of start working with this. And what we're trying to do is kind of another level up from that, okay? Because if they're saying like they work with centenarians, 100 years old, we're talking that we can probably double your lifespan. If the average lifespan is 75, and the average person's not doing most of the habits of longevity that we're going to talk about, well, if you do most of them, and there's a lot of them, I have 150 chapters in the book, okay? It's complicated, but you should be able to double your lifespan. That should be reasonable as far as how we look at it. So we put this presentation together, and Denise, you want to say a few things to start? Or?
No, I just thought we'd get right into it.
All right, and we'll have plenty of time for questions too, probably when we're done. You'll probably have lots of questions, and like I said, this is very complicated, but the benefit is, like I said, you're going to have your best life, you're going to have a lot of fun, more fun than you have with any other lifestyle, and then of course you get this added bonus of all this extra time. Okay, so it's a win in all directions as far as I'm concerned. Oh, and by the way, we want to legitimize this. We're both over 50. We're both 52 now, actually. Okay, so it's not like I was born yesterday and I have this. I'm seeing everything with rose-colored glasses. I've lived a long time, and almost everybody I've grown up with, and I talk about this in the book, is basically chronically ill. When I say chronically ill, I mean on maintenance pharmaceuticals for chronic health conditions of one type or another. Because I graduated high school in 1988, so I see it setting in here in the last 10 years, and I'm sure it's not going to get any better unless people change their habits, and that's what we're talking about this. I've even been to some funerals, unfortunately, of people in their 50s, and this is how it goes. You all probably know is as you get older, that's what you start to see. I don't think that should be expected. I know that is how things go nowadays, but there's also no guide like this that people have had as a reference.
So the first slide is Mike. I'll let him finish introducing himself. We're a nonprofit. You mentioned that. Anything else you want to say about yourself?
Well, just that okay. Let me give you a little history on the nonprofit. You may know us from the events we do. We do events with restaurants here in Naples. We're actually doing Naples Veg Fest this Sunday. It's at Sugden Regional Park, just off 41 east of downtown. If you all know where that is, it's an annual event. This is the third year in a row I think we've done that. It's going to be bigger than ever, more presenters than ever, more fun. It's an outdoor market. These are the things we do through the nonprofit, which was founded in 2014, which is when I went fully plant-based for health reasons. There's a number of reasons why people might do that. For me, it was for health, not because I had a health crisis, as you'll find out, because I'm just hypersensitive to doing things wrong. And as I mentioned, I'm kind of alluding to the fact that most people are not taught right. So by default, kind of doing things a little bit wrong. And because of that, not seeing all the benefits in life that people can see.
So this is me. I began my nonprofit career with my hands really.
You have to talk up.
Sure. So I started my nonprofit work based on my experience as the president of my condo association, and I also work as a product analyst for Freddie Mac, where I lead projects and do analysis work, mostly on financial products. So that's why I decided to become the treasurer for the nonprofit. And I'm committed to educating people about the benefits of a plant-based diet because I lost my grandmother to diabetes, a beloved aunt to diabetes, and most recently I lost my Aunt Gloria to a stroke. She was 92, okay, so she was probably healthier than most people are. But still, you're not supposed to have a stroke and spend your last 30 days in a nursing home not being cared for properly until you finally pass away. There are things I think she could have done better if she had known, earlier and did things differently. So since I switched to a whole foods plant-based diet, I lost 20 pounds, and I'm at the weight now that I was in 8th grade. And Mike and I are still able to go running on weekends, even though we're in our 50s now. So I'm happy with the way I feel. Yeah, together between the two of us, we have 5 granddaughters.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, so we've definitely had a full life. We haven't been just living in a bubble and trying to optimize our health. And it's relatively new for us. Is also what we're trying to explain. And also the aspect that you can reverse health issues. Your body always wants to heal. That's another theme in the book that I have.
yeah, I used to take acid reflux medications, and I haven't taken those for years now. So there are things that you can change.
Well, let me also say that you have to be very specific. That's another thing. There's so many things, right? The body wants things a certain way. But the body always wants to heal, wants to remain in balance. But even when I met Denise in 2017, I told her, I said, oh, you have acid reflux? She told me about it. I'm like, well, I've never had acid reflux, but I'm like, well, we probably just need to eat plant-based and you'll be fine.
Yeah, it didn't go away right
That's not how it works. I can tell you, just because you're going plant-based or not eating animal products does not mean you're going to be optimizing your health. In some cases, it's worse, depending upon what you're eating. So we had to fine-tune that, and there was a lot of different things that we found by trial and error. But you did solve it eventually, right?
Yeah, I cut out the coffee, at least the caffeinated coffee, and high-fat food. And I gotta be careful eating spicy food late at night, or I will wake up with reflux. But besides that, I'm not on any maintenance medication for the reflux.
And we want to point out too that I didn't know Denise before this, but she had surgery for reflux. And did the surgery work?
Yeah, no. It didn't. Yeah, I had a Nissen fundoplication, and within a year I needed to go back to taking the pharmaceuticals again. It wasn't a permanent fix.
Yeah, so this guy lived to 150, is about addressing the root cause of what's actually going on. So when your body expresses disease, it's like kind of like the check engine light for your body, like your car, right? But a check engine light tells you something's wrong, but doesn't tell you what. It tells you what's being affected by what's wrong. You gotta take it to somebody else, to a mechanic to diagnose it. That's kind of what the book is. My book will help you to diagnose something maybe you're not a little bit off on. And then usually the body will start to heal itself. That's another, like I said, it's a theme. And the great news is that the body is not like your car, because your car a lot of times will need parts replaced, right, and other things. But in most cases, as long as you catch it in time, the body will heal itself. That's another thing that, this is not something that usually you hear growing up. Okay, and I'm not practicing medicine or anything. I'm a lifestyle nutritionist. I talk about food, the food aspect, because my book is about longevity. But truly, if you're familiar with the 80-20 principle, and there's a chapter on that in the book, how 80% of your results are based on 20% of your actions. Well, in this case, it's the food. The 20% that affects 80% of your results is the food. And I have a chapter 42 is about the food, and I have many chapters that deal with specific things about the food. And if you want that full benefit, you need to do everything. So that's why the book is so long.
So this is about our nonprofit. It's multifaceted. It's for people, for animals, and the planet. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the benefits of the plant-based diet. If not, you will be by the time we end this presentation. But there's a lot of research out there that a plant-based diet will help you with lower cholesterol, stabilize blood sugar levels, reduce body weight.
And let me stipulate, that's if you do it right.
Yeah.
You can do anything wrong. Okay, I was talking to Paul earlier, I was like, you could eat a diet of just pure tomatoes and nothing else, and you're probably gonna have some deficiencies, minerals, you know what I'm saying? You gotta do it right. That's if you do it right.
So you can reduce your risk of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, even arthritis. Arthritis is really an inflammation, and one of the things that causes a lot of inflammation is animal products and oil and sugar, but we'll get into that in a minute. So these are some of the sources. These are some of the books that we recommend reading or movies watching if you're just getting into this, like the China Study, How Not to Die by Michael Greger, How Not to Diet, also by Michael Greger. Dr. Neil Barnard's program for reducing diabetes, or reversing diabetes, and also on how to reverse or prevent heart disease by Caldwell Esselstyn. And you can watch What the Health or The Game Changers and Live to 150, also on Mike's YouTube channel.
Yeah, actually, before we go on, I'm curious. So I'm so glad you all are here to learn, and I'm also stress that I'm always learning too. Nobody's ever got this thing all figured out. The book that I wrote, I just finished within the last month, and it's up to date as of now, but in 5 years it may not be, but it's still going to be relevant. We're just going to have more new information. But I'm curious, how many folks, by raise of hands, think that it's possible to live to 150 years old? They actually think it's possible. We got 2. Okay. Now, even if you don't believe it, how many, raise your hand, would want to live to 150? Even if you don't believe it. If I somehow, there you go. Another one. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. Money. Okay. Well. I've talked to a lot of people, and I've had people in their 20s tell me they do not want to live to 150. All right, and it's because they say, well, my life's been so difficult so far. Life isn't good. But a lot of what my book talks about too is making your life high quality. High quality is a theme. The quantity is just a benefit of living a high quality life. The Blue Zones touches on this a lot too when they talk about life purpose, because when you have a purpose, when you figure that out, and I have a chapter on that too, then you're going to feel like you want to get up every morning and you want to do something, and there's a reason for you to be here. And as long as you feel that you have a purpose and a reason, you're going to want to continue. So this book is going to make even more sense to you. And then, of course, that leads into goal setting and having goals, always having goals, no matter what your age. And I have a chapter just on goal setting, how to set proper goals. You talk about money. Financial management is another chapter. You have to learn how to manage your money well, okay? Because when you live longer, things cost money. They just do, right? The other thing I want to leave you with before I kind of move on to the next thing is that when I say that you all should live to be able to double your lifespan, if you go all in, you read all the chapters, you start working on all the habits, because it's just habits. But I know that habits are the hardest thing to change. I mean, if someone told you tomorrow I want you to change this habit, just do it. Just like that, it's nearly impossible, okay? So this book is like 150 different habits that you could possibly change. And a lot of the beginning part is just the psychology of that. And recognizing that this is possible, recognizing why you're doing things the way you're doing them now, and why you would want to do them another way. So we'll get into that more.
Yes. So for people, for animals and our planet, I didn't create a separate slide for everything. But this is Mike's food certification program. In order to get any menu item or dish certified by him, he'll have to look at your recipe, but as long as it
let's talk about what this is. Why would we have a certification program like this for food? Well, as I talked about earlier, just because you're eating plant-based or no animal products does not mean you're healthy. And in many cases with we started our organization in 2014. In 2014, there wasn't really much in the plant milk section, there wasn't much in the plant ice cream section or the cheese section, but now they're just as big as the dairy sections if you go to any grocery store, right? It's a great improvement because we're seeing more plant-based foods. The problem is, all that is not the kind of stuff that's going to optimize your health. All right, none of that is actually. Okay, they're more food-like products. So what's healthy? What is actually considered healthy? That's why we have the standard. It's actually called Certified Healthy Vegan Food. Okay, it's our minimum that we're going to consider healthy. It's not the end-all, be-all. It's not, because we can do better, but it's our minimum standard. So we kind of throw this out to any restaurant, any food vendor, any grocery store, anybody. And do you want to talk about what it is?
Sure. It has to have whole plant fiber, 0 animal products, no added oil, no added salt or sodium, no alcohol, and no processed sugar.
All right, I'll quickly run by these things and explain why, if you're trying to optimize your health, if you're going all in, why you don't want any of this stuff. All right, first of all, whole plant fiber is one thing you do want. I said, wait, did I push?
I have a slide for each one of these bullets.
So you got it, okay, all right. Whole plant fiber. First of all, there's a difference between fiber in a plant which is the way nature, that's the food actually, that's food. When I talk about it in my book, I talk about the difference between food as grown and food-like products. I truly believe that the human body was designed to eat plants as a whole or mostly whole. What the plants have that animal products do not have at all, fiber. There is zero fiber in all animal products, all meats, all fish, all dairy, no fiber at all. Why do you need fiber? Do you want to explain that?
Well,
Why do you need
of reasons.
Oh, there we go.
Well, it attaches to water and slows your digestion, so it makes you feel fuller. It lowers your blood cholesterol. It absorbs some of the fat that you eat along with the fiber. It will pass food through the body without elevating your blood glucose levels, and it helps control your
That's
stabilize your
glycemic, actually,
insulin.
the glycemic index. You all familiar with low and high glycemic index foods? All right, which do you want, low or high? You can tell? Low, okay, why?
Low glycemic?
Why do you want low glycemic?
Because of the sugar crop, you know.
So because what'll happen is it'll spike your blood sugar, right? If it's high.
Yeah.
So, if you think about this, I'm trying to explain it to, maybe you can kind of understand where I'm coming from when I say food is plants. Do you know any plants, whole plants that have a high glycemic index? The whole plant has grown. I've never heard of one. They're all low. If they're as close to as grown as possible, it's all low. It's got that fiber in it. It's got all the nutrition in it. It's got everything that your body needs. You see the variety of plants. Now, when does it become high? It's as you move away from food as grown. The further you move away from food as grown, the further processed you get, the higher the glycemic index. So you see the trend? You see why I'm saying plants are food, everything else is a food-like product. And that's just one example. We have many examples of this.
Next is no dairy product, no meat or dairy. So this slide is just on meat. There was a well-known study recently with the Harvard School of Public Health, and they looked at the effects of regular meat intake and found that it links to heart disease and cancer. And one serving of unprocessed red meat, like the size of a deck of cards, is associated with a 13% increase of risk of death from cardiovascular disease or cancer. And a serving of processed meat, like a hot dog or a couple slices of bacon, is affiliated with a 20% increased risk of death from cardiovascular disease or cancer. So,
Okay, anybody familiar with Dr. T. Colin Campbell? Okay, you know who he is? All right, first of all, he was our keynote speaker at Southwest Florida Vet Fest in Bonita Springs last February. He will be again. I've already talked to him. We're doing a live broadcast on our giant video wall. If you've ever been to our festivals, and even take questions if he finishes in time. But he's the guy who has out there with all the scientific studies, he keeps saying over and over again, animal products cause cancer. What in animal products causes cancer? The protein, the type of protein, because everyone says, well, where's your protein if you get plants? Well, it's all in the plants. The plants have all this. The animals must eat the plants to develop their protein. Unfortunately, the protein that is in the animals causes cancer in humans, whereas the protein that's in the plants does not, as long as you're eating organic plants, that is. But, so that's the big thing. You want to avoid cancer? Avoid animal protein, only eat plant protein.
animal protein is made up of long-chain fatty acids, and humans are designed to process short-chain fatty acids, and we can only get those from plants. So also red meat is high in cholesterol, saturated fat, and sodium.
Yeah, the red meat, yes. And what is it? Red meat is a group 2 carcinogen. Yeah, if you want to do some research on your own, just go onto the internet, go to a search engine, type in list of carcinogens, and you'll find these things. There's different levels. 1 is absolutely causes cancer in humans. 2 is likely, I think is what it is, right? So red meat is in the likely, and that's just general known use. I mean, there haven't really been any real studies that have shown this, but if you want all the science, go get the China study by Dr. Campbell. He explained, as his whole book is about this.
I'll go over the chart.
Yeah.
So it also is not good for your gut microbacteria. So it's been studied that people whose diets are high in animal protein also happen to have a more pro-inflammatory microbe in their guts. including these types of bacteria right here that you don't need in your gut.
Yeah.
So that explains why meat is associated with higher levels of inflammation markers throughout the body.
Yeah, I'd say in general, not just meat, but dairy as well. I don't have any inflammation problems, but there's a high correlation, like Denise says, between just animal products in general and inflammation in humans. And inflammation, the more you dive into the diseases, is really one of the root causes of almost every illness.
Yeah. But when you have inflammation, your body sends white blood cells there to try to recover from the damage, and when it's doing that, you can't fight off other things like colds and other, problems that are going on. That's how Dr. Campbell explained it.
Yeah, so like again, you kind of go back to it, right? No one's taught this growing up. Most people are not doing it correctly. So most people, including me until recently, have been way off from where I should have been, but yet we're still living to 75 years old. I'm just kind of going back to that theme. So if you're going to avoid the inflammation, which is the root cause of almost all things disease-wise that go with humans, then you're going to live a lot longer, and it's going to be much higher quality.
Yeah. Mike hasn't had a cold in 5 years.
Yeah, we were just going over that recently. Trying to figure out when the last time I had something.
Yeah. So why is your gut microbiome so important? There are actually more bacterial cells in your body than you have human cells. That means we're more bacteria than human. It's creepy, isn't it? So the gut microbiome plays a really important role in your health by helping with the digestion that benefits your immune system, and there are a bunch of other aspects that your gut microbiome is responsible for too. So an imbalance of unhealthy and healthy microbes in your intestines will contribute to weight gain, high blood sugar, high cholesterol, and other disorders.
All right, well, before you, are you able to?
No, I was citing the sources, Healthline.
Well, before we move on from this one, I want to mention that some of the best and worst things for your gut microbiome. Number one, best thing is fiber. And we've done some reading with some studies, I think one was from Harvard recently. 95% of all humans do not get enough fiber. 95%. You wonder why people are getting this and getting that. They're not getting enough fiber. It's really that's one of the things. The other thing that messes up your gut bacteria is eating a diet that's high in fat. When I say high in fat, you can't figure this out on your own by looking at a nutritional label, unfortunately. You need to calculate the percentage of the calories that are from fat. You need to do that on your own if you're eating food, because the labels don't tell you this. And if you really want to stay below 20% of calories from fat. And if you do, your gut microbiome will love that too. Because that staying low in fat, your gut microbiome will thrive. Eating all the fiber you can, your gut microbiome will thrive. But do most people eat too high a diet in fat? Yes. Do almost everyone not get enough fiber? Yes. So you see why I'm saying, again, we're getting double our lifespan. I mean, this is a massive change, a paradigm shift, just right here.
So your gut microbiome is also affiliated with your brain health, because your microbiome helps run that pathway between your gut and your brain. And so when one is compromised, the other can too. So there's been a number of studies that show that people with various, even psychological disorders have different species of bacteria in their guts. So that the studies haven't said exactly what it is or how to prevent it, but you can see that they're connecting the dots here.
Yeah, it's a slow process, but I think we'll learn more on this over time. I'm just kind of giving you the leading edge thought on this, and I do truly believe, and we do in our organization, that over time everyone's going to recognize this. Just that most people aren't taught this, right? And unfortunately, most physicians do not have nutrition training, so they cannot make this connection with the knowledge that they are taught at this point in time. But I also want to mention the gut microbiome and your brain health. A lot of that deals with, like Denise said, psychological conditions. A lot of it too, depression. Most of your serotonin that's made by your body is made in your gut. So if your gut's not functioning right, do you think you're going to make enough serotonin? No, not even close. So if we're talking about the link between possible imbalances in the brain, a lot of that goes back to your gut being way off of optimization. And so this would help by avoiding animal products. And another thing I want to talk about that I mentioned in the book is the importance of daily aerobic exercise. Because you have legs, as long as they work, they're there for a purpose. And if you don't use them, again, the body likes to be in balance. So the body likes to be in a state of health. It'll start to complain. I'm not saying that every imbalance in the brain is a result of these things, but I have a feeling that over time we're going to find that most of them are the result of poor gut health due to the reasons we just talked about, and a lack of daily vigorous aerobic exercise. I mean, 30 minutes a day.
Yeah. My body complains when I sit at work all day. I'll start to feel tired for no good reason. Even though I have plenty of sleep, I just got to get up and walk around. So don't be afraid to stand up if you're trying to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, stand up by all means. Yeah. Well, I have another chapter in the book, Sitting's the New Smoking. You may have heard that. It's absolutely true. I mean, I have to sit when I'm driving. I mean, there's no getting around that. At least not right now. Until maybe cars are self-driving, I can stand up. But
that would be cool. All right. Dairy. Milk and other dairy products are a top source of saturated fat in the American diet. It contributes to heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and Alzheimer's disease. Studies link dairy to increased risk of breast, ovarian, and prostate cancers. So this is from the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, PCRM. And
before you go on, okay, saturated fat Denise talks about. We had a doctor from PCRM actually, who spoke at Naples Veg Fest last year, and she discussed in detail how she reversed her MS, multiple sclerosis. Anybody ever hear of MS being reversed before, or a cure for MS? Well, apparently I didn't realize this, because like I said, I'm learning every day. The thought now is that the people who develop multiple sclerosis just are hypersensitive to any level of saturated fat in their diet. Where do you get a lot of saturated fat from?
Animal products.
Okay, so in order to reverse MS, you simply stop eating saturated fat. Not to say that it's all animal products, because you could get coconut, right? In coconut, the meat has a lot, there's certain things.
Avocado.
Yeah, nut seeds, avocados, like that. You gotta be careful with those. But, maybe this is new news to you. There's potentially, you don't need a cure for MS if the result, if MS is expressed because you're eating saturated fat, you don't even need a cure. Just stop eating saturated fat, right? And people have done this apparently, so again, something you can research, but I highly recommend, again, keeping the fat low, keeping the saturated fat low, and you said something else, Alzheimer's. We're gonna have Dr. Ronald Knaus at Naples Veg Fest this Sunday. He's 85 years young. He's been to many of our events. His talk is a new talk he's refined that he's going to be delivering at other places too, but we're going to hear it first here at Naples Veg Fest at Sugden Park on Sunday, and it's a free event, by the way. And he's going to basically talk about how to halt Alzheimer's and cure Alzheimer's. And I talk about in my book that, let's see, raise your hands. Who's heard of type 2 diabetes? Raise your hand. Everybody. Well, who's heard of type 3 diabetes? Okay. Well, type 3 diabetes is Alzheimer's. Okay, because as time goes on, we're recognizing that in most people, they become sensitive and their circulatory system starts to throw off all kinds of issues, including strokes, heart attacks, other things that are wrong, when type 2 is starting to develop, which is at the cellular level. Believe it or not, it's from eating too high of a percentage of calories from fat, because what it does is it shuts down the cells at the cellular level. They start to reject it and it resists to insulin. So your pancreas kicks in overdrive. Like my friend last year, he died of pancreatic cancer. This is normal. This is common because people are eating way too high of a percentage of calories from fat. I know this guy. I know what he was eating. And unfortunately, he was never willing to give up what was making him sick. So you need to give up. That's part of why I talk about the psychological aspects of this in the beginning of my book. The first many chapters are about that, because you have to be willing to give up what's making you sick. If I'm telling you, basically, you probably will express type 2 diabetes, every single one of you, including me, if we eat too high of a percentage of calories from fat. So that's one of the things I do, is I try to keep that low. And how do you keep it low? You eat mostly whole plants. Because the only things that exception to eat to the high fat are nut seeds and avocados. Just got to be careful with those, okay? There's no free pass for nut seeds and avocados. You have to really watch it. But okay, type 3. Let me get to type 3. So what's type 3? Well, type 3 is type 2 that's gone on too long, basically, and festered, and it gets into those really small vessels, in your brain. And it does the same thing in your brain as it was doing to the rest of your circulatory system, mainly with the heart. And it's the good news is that if we understand it as this, all you got to do is stop eating what you're eating and start eating low-fat, fully, mostly plants, and then you start reversing it. Because the body's a self-healing machine, remember? That's the thing. Again, you may not have heard this before, but I'm telling you, this is good news. Okay, I mean, I got to give you some good reasons to want to go and do something that basically, if you start doing this kind of lifestyle, because it's so far removed from the mainstream, people are going to think you're crazy. And that's what I've gotten basically my entire life, and that's why I also want to mention that this whole book is based on my experience. People saying I was crazy, right? And then I see as time goes on, now I'm over 50, that, I don't know, I mean, I just didn't succumb to peer pressure, I guess, because it's hard to get out of peer pressure, It's hard to be different. But I'm here to tell you the benefits are worth it. So.
I just like to say you can get Alzheimer's without having type 2 diabetes.
Well, you can, yes. But yes, it's.
Okay. I had a question about organic milk.
Yes.
Does that percentage for breast cancer apply also to organic milk?
If you're talking about cow's milk,
Yeah.
well, if you believe Dr. T. Colin Campbell, who says that the protein in animal products, specifically casein and dairy products, causes cancer in humans, then it has nothing to do with whether it's organic or not. It has to do with the fact that you're consuming a known carcinogen.
Dr. Campbell did studies on mice, and he could practically turn on their cancer genes by increasing their diet more than 5% casein. That's the animal protein that's found in milk. If he took away the casein, the cancer stopped growing or disappeared altogether.
And I can also, from my book, I have a chapter on this actually in my book. For me, when I gave up dairy, because that was the last thing I gave up. I went vegetarian, I think, and then finally I gave up dairy because I like cheese and ice cream and all this other stuff. But it wasn't just that. I never got sick. Okay, there's two reasons why people might change their lifestyle. Number one is you got a health crisis. That's most people. The other one is you overthink everything to death, which is what I do, which is why I started doing all these things different from everyone else. And I listened to my body too, a combination of that. So I stopped the dairy, and I had no health problems I knew of, but I can tell you, when I stopped dairy, I remember, I guess it was a health problem, but I used to have to go to the doctor every so often and get the wax out of my ears. There was all kinds of wax buildup in my ears. I didn't know why. I had body odors, like my armpits, really smelled, my feet bad, my breath. Okay, I'm trying to be as straightforward as I can. And I thought that was all genetic too, because my dad was like that. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm becoming just like my dad, But it's not. It wasn't. It was the dairy. Dairy is milk from another species. We're the only species that drinks the milk of another species, and that milk is designed to grow like a little baby calf to something way bigger than any human's supposed to be, right? In a very short period of time. How long ago? A year or something? Less than a year. Yeah, I mean, so you can imagine if you look at the analysis from that level, that's not something we should be drinking, unless maybe you want to be a sumo wrestler or something. I don't know. But the thing is, it's going to have unintended consequences, aka your health. That's what I'm concerned about, And as I said, these things, the smells and the earwax, just stopped within a year of me cutting dairy out altogether.
Yeah, I've heard other people explain that consuming cow's milk causes you to produce excess mucus. So if you have any problems with that, then it could be related.
Absolutely.
So, and I've seen these cartoons on the internet with people saying, oh, they can't have dairy, they're lactose intolerant. I say, you're not lactose intolerant, you're just not a baby cow.
Yeah, and humans are not a different species from cows. I don't know, does anybody know where we got that, why that started? I'm just curious. Because I have no idea either. I mean, the only reason why we're doing it is because the people before us did it, right? And we don't even know why.
Because they had cows, they were farmers.
But why did they drink that as a food?
Because it was there.
Plants were there too.
They didn't know you.
You can't give a plant-based diet to a baby. They can't swallow anything.
Well, the babies, I think in the perfect world, they will drink their mother's milk,
Right.
which is the same species.
Right.
So plant milk I think is less than ideal for a baby, and so is cow's milk.
Yeah. But that may be how it started, that's all. I mean, you can't
It
start
could- it
carrying
could
out
have been,
babies.
yeah, it could have been.
That could have been, yep, the mother couldn't produce milk. Yeah. So this graphic was from the Loma Linda University. All right, oil. I did a couple of slides on oil.
I got a whole chapter on oil in the
Yeah.
book.
So there's 6 reasons why oil is bad for you. The number one is it causes excess omega-6 fat. You don't want omega-6, you want omega-3s. Saturated fat will raise your LDL cholesterol. Oil raises your blood triglyceride levels after meal. It's high in calories. It's 9 calories per gram, whereas a protein or well, let's not get into.
Well, they're less. This is very high caloric density, right?
It's the
Well,
highest.
and then Denise just said 9 calories per gram. Remember I said you have to calculate if you want to figure out the percentage of calories of fat that you're eating? So what you need to do is you need to set, let's say something is 100 calories. And let's say they say what, you've got 4 grams of fat in this serving. That's 100 calories. Well, 9 times 4 is 36. So 36 divided by 100, you get 36% fat. Just like that. And I have a feeling if you go into your foods that you're eating, you make an analysis like that, you're going to realize what I'm talking about, and everybody is way, way over where they're supposed to be in terms of the eating.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, oil, yeah, well, we'll get into oil. Actually, I want to say a few words after Denise is done.
Of the 4 macronutrients, oil has the most calories per gram.
Yes,
Protein-
most calorically dense.
Protein and a carbohydrate, they have 4 calories per gram, so oil's more than double that. And most oils contain some amount of trans fat. So here's how the oil looks in your stomach. There's 400 calories of oil.
Just a little bit down there.
I should have put
Little
maybe
tiny bit.
400
So you're not
calories.
full. You're not full, right? If you eat
Right. It's not
400
filled.
calories of oil, you're like, I'm hungry. I'm never gonna feel full.
I should change this to 400 calories of tofu. It may be a little bit higher here. And here's what 400 calories of vegetables looks like and fill your entire stomach.
So the point here is that I say that, please let me know if I'm right or wrong, but most diets that have ever been out there, they all focus on portion control, right? You can only have so much of this, so many points, so many whatever, right? Well, that's because you're eating this and maybe even a little bit of that. But if you're eating stuff on the right, would you have to do any portion control? No. I never control my portion. I eat all the time. How much did I eat at your house just now?
A lot.
Yeah, so if you're eating what your body's designed to eat, portion control is not a thing. You will never want to stop eating, you'll never have to stop eating. And do I look like I need to stop eating? Like, I mean, if you saw what I was eating tonight, you'd say, you need to stop eating, but then you look at me like, wait a minute. It's because I'm eating as close as possible as I can to what my body considers actual food. That's why. Can you go back for a minute? Okay, I have a chapter on oil, and what I wanted to mention is that we are talking about, okay, is there anybody here that thinks that processed food is good for the human body?
For the what?
Processed
For the
food.
human body.
Is processed food good for the human body? Anybody? Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you that I believe oil is the ultimate junk food. Ultimate. It's the worst processed food of them all. And here's how I'll convince you, hopefully. Does anybody know of a processed food, and of course we're all saying they're bad, right? That is 100% fat. 100% fat. Besides oil.
Wouldn't that be bacon?
It's not 100%.
No, there's some protein in there.
Well, it's not okay, when I say fat, I mean calories from fat, I say makeup as well. Because oil, you see, like oil is just like this. It's like what you put in your car if you ever put one in, right? Well, first of all, most oil comes from a plant, right? You're like, oh, it's a plant, it can't be that bad, right? Well, where's the fiber? We just talked about how 95% of humans don't get enough fiber every single day. It's been extracted and thrown away. It's gone. Where's all the nutrients? Let's say like olive oil. Olives are pretty good for you. They got some nutrition in there. How much of that nutrition is left when all it looks like is that? it's almost virtually all gone. There might be a trace of it there, but if you want the nutrition in an olive, eat the olive. Do not eat that form because that's 100% fat. And fat is 9 calories per gram, right? So, and unfortunately, if you look at most processed foods, the reason why you know processed foods are bad is because what's an ingredient that most processed foods have? Oil. If you look at the ingredients, oil is in there. It's one of the ingredients. Usually you don't drink oil straight, but in a processed food, it will have oil as an ingredient. So anyway, I believe that I have a chapter in the book, if you want to read more, that oil is the ultimate junk food. There is nothing that's worse for you that you could possibly consume than that right there. Yeah. And you know, if you want a good use for it, just don't put it in you. Just when you also, here's another way to convince you. Is it okay to put oil or grease down the drain in your pipes in your house? Why not?
Because it'll clog your pipes, like it'll clog your heart and
Yep.
your arteries and,
Yeah, so why would we ever put that in our bodies? Why are we going to treat our pipes in our house better than our own body? Like the only place we actually have to live is our own body.
Oh, what do you think of coconut oil?
Well, coconut is a nut, remember? Nut seeds, avocados, I said you got to watch out for those plants. Well, the problem with nut seeds and avocados is that they are high in a percentage of calories from fat. So if you go to an oil form of a nut like that, which is already high, you're going to have even higher fat. And one of the issues with coconut oil is it's somewhat similar to animal products in that it has saturated fat in it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can whip it up really nice and get some frosting, some plant-based frostings and stuff because it kind of mimics the animal products because of that saturated fat. But as we talked about, saturated fat likely causes multiple sclerosis. Why would you want to eat? And not to mention, you know, if it's in the oil form, you would never put that down the pipes in your house. Why would you want to consume that? I'm talking about health optimization here, okay? I'm focusing solely on optimizing your health. So oil does not have any place in anyone that's attempting to do right for their health. That's what I'm trying to leave you with. The other thing she talked about is omega-6s. Omega-6s are bad, but the real issue, and I have a chapter on this in the book, is the ratio of omega-3s to omega-6s. Denise, well, I think you know, animal products are a main source of omega-6s, right?
Yeah, like fish.
So we want to keep the omega-6s low, but we want to keep omega-3s higher. And where do we get the omega-3s from?
And that fish oil has omega-3s, but you can get vegan omega-3.
Right.
We get it from our chia seeds.
Yeah, chia seeds and flax seeds.
Flaxseed.
So it's more about the ratio. So eating less animal products and more things that have omega-3, like chia and flax seeds. That's what you really need to worry about. You don't need to take a supplement, because I actually have a chapter on supplements in the book. And guess what Dr. T. Colin Campbell also says about supplements? Does anybody know? They cause cancer. Supplements cause cancer in humans. Why would you ever want to take a supplement? Why are you taking a supplement for that matter? For the nutrition, right? Where do you get the nutrition that's packaged correctly in a low-fat environment with full of fiber that nobody gets enough of? Where do you get that? From the plants. So you can understand why supplements will cause cancer in humans, because that's not recognized as anything by the body, and it's going to cause it to freak out. And actually, cancer is a disease. Okay, everyone says we're going to figure out where cancer comes from. Well, it's the body telling you you're doing something wrong. That's what it is. It truly is. Not to say that I have the answer and I can reverse cancer in anybody or whatever. I can't do it. I'm not practicing medicine. I'm just talking about the food. If you eat close as you can to what your body considers food, then you will have the least likely possibility of expressing any disease. And like my wife said, I haven't been sick since 2000. Well, you've never known when you get a cold, I think, right? So that's the whole goal, right? To have fun in life, right? To enjoy life. Does anybody have fun when they're sick? So you understand why I'm explaining all this in this way. And I'm going to tell you, this is not my way. Okay, this is the way that humans are designed to thrive. And we're telling you what humans recognize as food. Because once you stray from what your body recognizes as food, that's when you express disease. And what else did you say? Blood triglycerides, high in calories. Yeah, okay. Oils, low in nutrients. That's the other thing I want to stress. Some people think, well, I've heard avocado oil is good for you, whatever. Well, no, it's low. It's very low in nutrients. You've got that word of avocado or olive or whatever the case might be. But that's a vague reference to the plant it came from before they threw it in some giant machine to get the oil out. Has anybody ever seen oil in nature? Oil, it doesn't exist. It's completely human-made. It's completely processed to the nth degree. I think you guys get the idea. So
We don't cook with oil. We throw out our bottles of oil. And when we go to restaurants, it's hard to avoid, but we ask them not to fry, don't stir fry our food, use water.
Yes, that's right, water, that's the thing, like, let me also give you another reason why most restaurants use oil. Most people are taught to cook with oil. One of the reasons, actually, it's a good reason, is that you can have like 3 or 4 or 5 dishes going at once. You can kind of flip them, and where does that oil go when you're sauteing stuff? Where does it go? It never goes anywhere. Yeah, it's just right there. Same thing that happens when you throw it in your body. It doesn't go anywhere. It stays inside of you. It messes you up on a cellular level. So you can see from an efficiency standpoint, that's great for cooking. You can have all these dishes cooking, right? But how about water? Instead of using oil, we're going to use water for the same thing. How efficient is that going to be?
It evaporates.
Where does the water go? Yeah, the water keeps evaporating. You got to keep putting more water in. It's a lot more work, actually. Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
But what's the benefit? It's not the speed of cooking, it's your health. Okay? That's what we're trying to get across.
So, if you want to get down to all the reasons why you don't want to consume oil, Dr. Esselstein's videos are on our website, aPlantBasedDiet.org. Each video, I think, is more than an hour long.
This all goes along with our healthy vegan food and what we will consider the minimum of actually being called healthy, right? So if you get our website, a tab on our website, because our nonprofit is aPlantBasedDiet.org. The site that's a tab on our website for all this information, is healthyveganfood.info. Healthyveganfood.info. When you go there, you will see these videos right here. We were on the Holistic Holiday at Sea. I told some of you guys I was on that cruise. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. Anybody ever heard of Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn? Couple, okay. He is a very famous cardiologist from the Cleveland Clinic. Anybody ever heard of the Cleveland Clinic? So you know that's legit, right? Okay. Well, this is a cardiologist from the Cleveland Clinic, and if you go to our website, healthyveganfood.info, you watch these 2 videos, each one's over an hour long. We were sitting in the front row. He goes through all the science and explains to you why you should not have one single drop of oil ever. And he reverses heart disease, he reverses stroke in all of his patients, and this is what he tells me. And of course, there's a low-fat diet that goes along with that too, but oil is the worst form of fat because it's 100%. You know, it's the ultimate junk food. And let me also mention that you guys know about cholesterol level. I'm sure you had yours checked. I've had mine checked. By the way, last time I had mine checked, it's 116. Okay? And I've been plant-based for a long time. And actually, before I learned about the high fat that I told you guys about, my cholesterol was what? Like 149. My cholesterol dropped from 149 to 116 just because I started eating less of a percentage of calories from fat. And how long did that take? 3 weeks. 3 weeks. I had my blood tested before I went on the special diet. That's how fast it is. Your body will heal almost immediately. Just give it a month. You guys can do it. I mean, a month isn't too long away for results, is it? Yeah. Okay, well, we also mentioned Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn mentions that he has a thing where he says he can make, now one of the reasons why he says no oil ever, not even one drop, is because he says I can make you heart attack and stroke proof. Anybody ever heard of that? Okay, well, watch the videos if you're interested, healthyveganfood.info. But he says if your cholesterol is below 150, because mine was 149 when I started, then he says you will never get a heart attack, you will never get a stroke. It's like, he says it's impossible. That's what he says. If you want to know why, watch the videos. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, I'm not a physician, I don't practice medicine, I just talk about the food, but he says it's all the food. Okay? He says that you can make yourself heart attack proof and stroke proof by simply changing what you eat.
Good advice. All right. Alcohol is a group 1 carcinogen. I have the whole
More
chart
fun.
on the next slide. Yeah, I'm not saying we never drink.
Woohoo!
Go to
It's
a wedding
party!
and have a glass of wine at a wedding or something, but we don't make it a regular part of our.
Has anybody ever heard that before, that alcohol is the highest level, group 1, which is the highest level cancer causer? Anybody ever heard that before? Why do you think you've never heard that before? Because if you go on the internet and type in alcohol group 1 carcinogen, it's going to come up all over the place.
We'll find it.
You know why? Because there's huge industries out there that rely on selling lots of these things to you guys.
Yeah, the restaurants don't want you to know this either.
But trust me, go do your own research. I want you to question everything. Hopefully, I'm starting to do that. I want you to question everything. I don't want you to take my word for it. Read the book as a reference, and then go find out for yourself if you want to convince yourself, and don't take my word for it.
Yeah, so the group 1 carcinogens that alcohol contributes to are larynx, esophagus, colorectal, liver, and breast cancer.
Yeah, there's many. If you guys ever been to like a, was it the Pink Ribbons? What is that? What's the organization? Breast Cancer?
Yeah, breast cancer. October.
They usually serve, like processed red meat, which is a group 2 carcinogen at their events. And they usually serve alcohol, which is a group 1 carcinogen at their events.
Yeah, they don't ever
It makes
talk
you
about
wonder.
prevention. They just say, we're gonna find the cure.
Yeah, as if there's a this mysterious cure that we have to find.
Keep donating, we'll find it.
It doesn't work. That's not how the real world works, unfortunately. That's not how life. Actually, let me say something. When I say all these things that are very ironic, that is how the world works these days. It's very unfortunate, but that's not how life works. What I'm trying to explain to you is how life works. Like if you want to get the most out of life and you want to be in a state of optimal health at all times, which means you can have fun and enjoy your life and take trips wherever you want to go at any time. That's what I'm talking. That's the kind of life it's the kind of aging I'm talking about. Then that's why I wrote this book.
So here's the whole chart. This was written by the International
there it is.
Agency for Research
You'll
on
find it,
Cancer,
search it up.
IARC. So up here, yeah, you'll see smoking, solar radiation, alcoholic beverages, and processed meats. Like
Okay,
bacon,
processed meats
sausage.
are group 1. Sorry, we weren't being straightforward. It's actually group 1.
Yeah, red meat is group 2A.
There's a difference between red meat, and processed red meat.
Yeah,
So
processed
again, I think we all agree, right? Processed food is bad. So the more processed you get, the worse it is for your body. Again, that's why we want to stay with the least processed of all foods that don't contain a carcinogenic protein. You have to go to the mostly whole plants in that package that nature provides with all the fiber.
All right, avoiding sodium. So the Food and Drug Administration says that adults should eat less than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. That's about a teaspoon of salt.
That's high, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I say 1,500 max.
Yeah, we have less than that. But only elite athletes need even that much.
Yeah, anybody here long distance runner?
What?
Okay, what's the longest run you've ever ran?
Marathon.
26. 24, 26.4, right? 0.2, okay, yeah. I only did one ever. But the longest run I ever did was 38 miles. And I know a lot of my friends that I would run with, I never did this, but they take the sodium pills, right? I mean, there was a purpose for that if you're a long distance runner. But we have one person in here. Are you running long distance right now?
Yes.
You are? Okay, well then there might be a purpose for you. Okay, you might get a pass on this one. But everybody else, including me, I'm not running the long distances anymore.
So a sodium-heavy diet will make you retain fluid, and it
Yes, that's it.
damages.
That's why you want the high sodium if you're running long distance. Because you're retaining fluid, right? You don't want to run out of water to dehydrate if you're running long distance, so you understand. Yeah, but everybody else who's not running long distance, you cannot take much sodium because that's what's going to happen to you and you're not going to run it off.
Yeah, it can affect your kidney function. I know my aunt who was on dialysis couldn't have pickles, for example, because they were so high in sodium. It affects your blood pressure because it's actually, the salt damages the lining of your blood vessels. It's a really abrasive product and it's not supposed to be ingested. It occurs naturally in food, so we don't need to put salt on our food.
Yeah, let's also note that there's a difference, and I have a chapter in the book on this as well, between the sodium, because sodium's important. I think everyone's going to agree, right? I mean, you need to have some sodium. But guess what has sodium? Plants. And they have it in a form that is different than the sodium that's harvested either from, sea waters or sea beds or rocks. I mean, this stuff's not plants. That's the thing. Remember, I'm talking about plants to optimize health. So whenever you add salt, that's not again, something your body is going to consider food. It's going to react in a negative way. Just get the sodium, by all means, but get it in the plant form the way that your body is designed to thrive with.
Most restaurant food is a sodium bomb, and they never taste
Yes.
good, and you'll buy more and eat more. DQ is one of the biggest offenders. Their bowl of chili has 3,900 milligrams of sodium. I went to their website to double check this, and I think they're so embarrassed it's not even listed on their website.
Yeah, 39. So if I say 1,500 is max, and believe me, I'm so sensitive to this stuff. If I go over 500 during a day, probably. I'm talking about added, okay? Because plants, like I said, you can do the plants. Plants already have that in there. But if I'm eating we travel a lot. If I'm eating some food from somewhere else, my gosh, they're going to put salt on there, right? So I got to watch it. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know. I would react very, very poorly. My body would not like me.
Chili is DQ. So if you want to set some goals, you can sign up with MyFitnessPal to see what your dietary intake looks like for the day. I don't recommend doing this every day, but if you want to make some changes, this is a good way to do
Wait,
it.
I have to add about goals.
Mm-hmm.
There's a chapter on goal setting in my book. Goal setting is incredibly important because not only do you need a life purpose, which we talk about a chapter in the book on that, but you gotta set goals. Has anyone made a habit of keeping a list written down somewhere of your life goals? Raise your hand. All right, well, see, this is why this is a struggle that I'm talking about, and it's probably seeming like impossible. We're giving you all this information, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? You know, well, that's why goal setting is so important, and proper goal setting. Now, believe it or not, I go into detail in the book about proper goal setting, but you must have 3 to 5 goals in a 1-year category, 5-year category, 10-year, and lifetime. 3 to 5. And you have to write them down. I don't care if it's a note on your phone. Actually, ideally, I'd like you to write them down on a piece of paper and sign it and hang it on the wall, like somewhere like your desk area in your house or whatever, because that way you're looking at it all the time, just like you look at all the other stuff that you like on the walls of your house. But unfortunately, none of them are your goals, you know? And this is all about surrounding yourself with positive things to help you get to wherever you want to get. Because I want you guys to have your goals, whatever they are, and accomplish them. And I'm hoping that, you know, well, I know that if you're in poor health, you're probably not going to accomplish most of your goals. So not only do you have to get in good health, you have to set goals in the right way. And I have, again, a whole chapter on that.
So someone asked last year what we eat. So I put together just 4 days of what we would eat in a typical day. We don't like to cook, so we eat a lot of raw food. So typically for breakfast, this is breakfast. This day we had a pineapple and some bananas. For lunch we had this giant smoothie. For dinner we had a big salad with these tomatoes, peppers. For a snack, I had all those cucumbers, and in the evening we had another snack. We split this whole bag of crinkle cut fries with no added salt. We put them in the air fryer, so there's no added oil either.
Oh, and let me mention, that reminds me, potatoes are a good source of iodine. Iodine's important that you get that in your diet. Another source is sea moss. These are plant-based ways to do it. The other thing is, I did mention earlier, I wanted to clarify something about no supplements, except for one, which is B12. You should most likely take a B12 supplement, and I have a whole chapter in the book on that too if you want to know more.
B12.
So, question.
Yeah.
You mentioned iodine. It's salt, right?
Get some water.
Go ahead. That's, iodine is typically, you know more about this, you're the salt person. It's usually a fortification, right,
Yeah.
into a sodium chloride product. It's not occurring naturally.
Yeah, most salt has iodine added.
Yeah,
So I'm thinking about the 3,800 or whatever, or less than that.
Yeah, they'll add iodine because iodine is so important. That's why I mentioned that salt and potatoes. Like, yeah, you should have some because there's iodine in there, and people can be deficient in that. And people have realized that over time. That's why they fortify certain products with certain vitamins and minerals. They don't occur naturally, most likely in those things, but they're added because it is important. It's something you got to be aware of.
What about the Himalayan, like pink salt? With
Well,
the
it's if you're somewhat convinced anyway that plants are the way to go, that's not a plant. if humans are designed to thrive on plants, and plants have the sodium in them in the form that we recognize as food, our bodies do, then there's no reason to use that. And in fact, since it's not a plant, it will probably express something in you that's not normal over time, is my guess.
I have read that it's better for you than table salt, the Himalayan salt, but we recommend that you don't add salt.
Yeah, like, I don't know of anyone that has, or has anyone known someone that didn't get enough sodium in their diet and had a health problem? Because usually I'm hearing the other way around. I'm hearing about high blood pressure left and right. And it's almost absolutely directly related to too much added sodium. And one thing I want to mention too is all the colors here. Like, again, I'm kind of bringing this back to the fact that I want to convey what I think humans were designed to thrive on, the food and the health we were designed to have. And we have colored vision, right? Everybody can see in color? You can see all that. And you know that, well, I know that I couldn't tell if a plant was ripe unless I could see that color, those colors, right? A fruit or a vegetable, especially the fruits. But for the most part with animal products, you don't need colored vision, right? To eat animal products. There's no different, there's no burst of color like that, and that's not going to determine whether or not the plant, unless you're cooking something rare or not rare, I guess that's the only reason. But aside from that, it's not going to tell you if it's good or not. But I'm just getting that back to say, look, this is all connected, right? Like I said, we have legs, we got to make that aerobic exercise. We have colored vision, and this, in my mind, is the reason why we have colored vision.
So we got plenty of fiber this day. There's 38 grams. Most people get less than 15 in a day, so we got plenty there. Also plenty of protein, 29 grams. And this isn't how much each of us ate. Mike probably ate twice as much food. So the fun thing about it,
I eat till I can't put any more in.
yeah, you can eat as much as you want with this kind of stuff. You don't have to count calories or do portion control.
And it's important to find good quality produce. A lot of this you see is produce, right? Got to be good quality. That is a skill in itself. I was talking to Paul earlier about how we've developed our own skill in trying to find pineapples and find the sweetest, most delicious tasting pineapples. That's a skill.
This day looks similar, except we ate that entire watermelon, just threw it in a blender and made
That's
like
me
a
holding
slushy
a watermelon.
out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, have you ever had a watermelon smoothie? Yeah, because all you do is you cut the watermelon up, so you don't have the green part in there. You throw it in a blender, you just turn on it drinks down like a juice, and you get all the fiber. It's all in there. It's delicious, especially on a hot day.
This day we got 38 grams of fiber each. So this day, cherries were in season, and this is where I got a ton of fiber that day for lunch.
Denise really likes cherries.
Yeah, tons. So, and we also, we cheat a little. We go to Starbucks on occasion. That's a chai tea latte there. You just
With
order
plant
soy
milk. Yeah, plant milk.
Yeah, so it's
What,
not
like almond milk or what?
Yeah, almond milk, soy milk. Try to avoid, like if you, we do, okay, the higher fat milks. When I say higher fat, I mean like coconuts we're talking about, okay, that's definitely a higher fat. But absolutely the one that's ubiquitous these days is oat milk. And does anybody know why oat milk is high in fat? Because oats don't sound like they have much fat in them, do they? Anybody know why?
No,
Because it's not just oats.
because what?
It's not just oats. They actually add oil to it. If you look on the ingredients, remember the ultimate junk food, oil, they add it to oat milk. That's why it's so creamy like that, because it's all that extra too much fat in there.
So this day we had these huge mixing bowl size cereal bowls full of steel cut oats and blueberries and some, what's that, maple syrup. For lunch, baked potato with just some pepper and a little tahini. This day I got into some fats. We don't recommend adding some fatty stuff like tahini.
This is more
but
cooked
it's okay.
food too. You probably notice the other days, a lot of raw foods. We eat probably at least 50% of our food is raw plants, organic raw plants. So, but some cooked, but well, plenty of cooked food, but just not as much cooked as raw.
We make our own soy milk, so we don't buy the prepackaged milks from the stores because those usually have added sugar, oil, or salt. We make ours with about 13 cents worth of soybeans and some water in a little machine called a Soy Joy. So it's really fast and easy to make your own soy milk. And that day we had some whole grain pasta with some crushed tomato sauce that Mike makes himself with seasoning.
Yeah, I had to stop buying the store-bought sauce. Anybody know why?
Sodium.
Sodium, that's one. And what else?
Sugar.
That's another one. Yeah. What else? What?
Oil?
Yes. It's almost every sauce out there has all of those things in it. So if you want a sauce without oil, sugar, or salt, you have to make it your own now. I used to be able to buy the engine 2 brand, but they don't sell it anymore.
What do you put in your, crushed tomato?
Yeah, crushed tomatoes. I put some tomato paste, and you gotta watch. First of all, crushed tomatoes. I try to get them organic. Also get them with no salt added, so it has 0 added salt. That's easy to find. The harder thing to find is the tomato paste. I'll add like usually half a can of tomato paste. That has so much salt in it. You gotta really read the labels. Added salt. Okay. Just make sure you get the one with the low added salt, and then I have all kinds of spices, organic spices, all kinds. You know, whatever we have in the pantry there, I put them all in and just cook it up. Yeah.
One of the things Dr. Greger recommends is using miso paste in place of the salt.
Yeah, miso is fermented salt, right?
Yeah, but that's one of his recommendations.
Yes, that is better. It definitely is better. There's a lot of, I know Dr. Greger says that, I've heard from other people too. They say like fermented, okay? That's a thing, right? Fermented foods, you guys familiar? So you could ferment salt, right? And then you end up, miso is one of the forms that you might see that in. I question whether that is optimal, because I'm talking about optimal here for human health. And I question whether any fermented food, for that matter, is optimal for human health. But that's another talk for another time. And I don't have a chapter in the book on that yet, but maybe I'll have some extra ones later.
This day we got 57 grams of protein. A lot of it was in those steel cut oats. So as the food calorie, the macronutrient pie chart comes out mostly carbs, and I know for those that have been on an Atkins or a keto diet, you're probably thinking that's really scary, but it's not, because these carbs are coming from whole foods, not from refined sugars.
Yeah, just like we talked about, there's a difference between the sodium in the plant naturally growing and the sodium you're adding, which is not from a plant. It's the same chemical substance, right? But it's not from a plant. There is a massive difference between a food as grown plant carbohydrate and a processed, because we all agree processed food is bad, right? Processed carb. They may look similar, I don't know, in their makeup, but they are dramatically different in the way your body treats them. One, whole plant carb is treated as food by your body. The other is a food-like product. Processed carb is a food-like product. It's not food recognized by your body.
Yeah. So we eat about 80% carbs, 10% protein, 10% fat, or less. And it works well. You can eat as much as you want.
Yeah. Eat all day long if you want. You won't be able to though, because you just won't fit any more in.
So if you need tips on recipes, you can go to our website at aPlantBasedDiet.org. There are healthy recipes here. We do cook on occasion, like mac and cheese.
Yeah, we have some recipes on there, but we have quite a few. Actually, there's so much on our website, we don't have time to go in it, but just check it out, aPlantBasedDiet.org.
Yeah, there's links to healthy prepared food too. We already spoke about
Alzheimer's, yeah, 85 years young Dr. Canals is going to talk about how to cure Alzheimer's on Sunday, remember?
Yeah.
At Saginaw Regional Park, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
It's lifestyle related, not just food. You still need your exercise and socialization. If you want to find out where our events are, you can go to our veganevents.info. Will take you to our Eventbrite page. So
Or plant-based-events.info.
Yeah, they both.
Yeah, because you'll see this. When you go to Eventbrite, did you guys know, like, you know, every social media platform you can follow somebody? But you can do that on Eventbrite too, because that's us right there. And we have like 2,800 followers on Eventbrite. So just go ahead and do that, and you'll find out about each event as we name one. And let me also mention, if this intrigues you guys, and you're like, oh, okay, I want to do this, but I don't know how to cook all this stuff, I don't know what to do. But you go on our website, but that's a learning process, right? Or you can be like, well, where can I just go and somebody can feed me this stuff? Well, that's what we have a special event. We have not announced it. You guys are the first ones I told Paul earlier about. Okay, but you guys are the first ones to hear. We have a special event here in Naples. It's going to be the first Tuesday in December. Anybody been to La Moraga restaurant before?
Yes.
Okay, well, we work with them. We've done monthly events for a couple of years now, but they've never met our healthy vegan food standards for the whole meal. So we're doing that. Actually, it's going to be a limited seated event of 40 people for the restaurant. It's on a Tuesday night slower so we can get 40 people in there, because normally you couldn't get 40 people in there on a regular night because there's other people showing up, right? But that food is going to meet our healthy vegan food standard that we discussed earlier, and you'll be able to try it out and see what it's all about, and you're going to have chef that is at an amazing restaurant cooking it all up too. So
What's the name again?
La Moraga.
Okay.
But you got to follow us on Eventbrite, because our RSVP list is going to be on Eventbrite. And once we hit 40, then we go to a waiting list. And we know we're doing this in conjunction with Naples Green Scene. If you guys are familiar with them, we're going to hopefully have more events as partnerships moving forward that are like this, where we're out at restaurants and we're eating certified healthy vegan food, or better. That's how I would describe it. Like, you can't even really get one dish that way at a restaurant, okay? And you're gonna have a 4-course meal, like Mediterranean fusion that they cook over at La Moraga. It's awesome.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm already hungry. I'm ready to go.
We have a no added oil vegan Indian buffet coming up.
But yeah,
It's at Spice Club.
what? Yeah, Spike. This is in Fort Myers. Yes. Yeah. If you guys have ever been, I know Paul's been. Basically, we get, I say, between like 10 and 15 different entrees, right?
Yeah. Mike and Sue's been there too.
Oh yeah, you've been there. Okay, yeah, like 10 to 15 different entrees, right? That are all meeting our certified healthy vegan food standard. You cannot just do that. I mean, this is like the last time we did this was a year ago, and it may only be an annual event as well. I keep talking to the restaurant, but that's on Eventbrite. So check us out on Eventbrite. You can just respond on there.
And this is about our event on Sunday. Some people asked who's going to be presenting. I know the font's kind of small, but we've got a full day packed at the Naples Veg Fest.
And an easy way to find us, go to our website, aPlantBasedDiet.org, click on the tab that says Veg Fests, click on Naples, and then you'll go to a website, and if you click on presenters, it'll go through and you'll see not only the schedule like you see here, but you'll see all the biographies, pictures of the people, and the talk topics. The whole thing is on that website. NaplesVegFest.org, you can go to.
Yeah, where is that? That's
Sugden Regional Park. Sugden Regional, the one that's on 41 east of downtown. There's a big lake there now. It's a great park.
It's near the botanical gardens.
Yes.
Does it have its own URL?
That does too, yeah, NaplesVegFest.org. If you type in NaplesVegFest.org, you will go directly to the website that's dedicated just for that event. The big festivals, we have like our own websites.
We also have a YouTube channel if you want to follow it. You can hear about the different restaurants that we review. We do coffee reviews, and you can see.
Yeah, we travel all the time, some of you know about us. So like when we talk about eating this way, okay, we're not talking about like living in a bubble and never leaving the house. Okay, I'm gonna say that we're never in the house. We're going. So if you want to see how to do this out in the real world, just subscribe to our YouTube channel. We put everything we do basically to make a video of, so you guys can see how to do this.
We're having a plants to table dinner on a farm next spring.
Yeah, it's in March. We had to postpone it because of the hurricane. Actually, the farm got damaged. But instead of being in December, it'll be in March. That's an annual event. You guys have heard of farm to table events, right?
what?
You go to the farm to table. You go to a farm and they serve you a dinner with mostly stuff that they grow on the farm, right? Or they raise on the farm. This is plants to table. So we're gonna go to a farm and you're gonna eat a dinner of all plants, made with mostly plants grown on that farm. And show you around the farm and show how you grow them and all this stuff, and outdoors, on the farm and where the plants are being grown. That's what it's about, once a year, only one time a year, special event.
That's
And yeah.
Which farm?
Hearts of Palm. Hearts of Palm, it's in Fort Myers.
That's the name of the restaurant?
That is the name of the farm. We have these on, like literally on the farm, we get tables out there and you have a dinner, we prepare it right out there. And it's only one time a year, that's it. And you have to buy tickets in advance for that, and it's also on Eventbrite. All the stuff is on Eventbrite. So if you type in this plants to table, when you go to Eventbrite, And then you'll see, there's actually 3 of them. One's in Fort Myers, one's in Ocala, Gainesville, so they're doing up there, and then one is in DC, so just don't choose the one in DC, choose the one in Ocala, Gainesville.
So, we have another nonprofit that's more focused on optimizing your health, and it's called
Yes.
lifestylemedicine.love.
Yeah, we have 2 nonprofits actually, okay? Now, this talk is of the book and longevity habits, and hopefully we've done a good job, I hope, of convincing you that if you want to take control of your health and live your best, most fun, most enjoyable life, you just have to rethink everything you've ever been taught, okay?
About eating.
That's what the habits thing is, okay? But your body will respond, and it'll respond in a very favorable way. So, aPlantBasedDiet.org started out in 2014 when I gave up animal products. And that's just a baseline. It's like, just giving up animal products is a huge step. It was for me. I didn't know anybody who had even done that. No friends, no family in 2014. That's gotten better, but this one is more than just introducing people to that type of lifestyle. This, lifestylemedicine.love, and love stands for local, organic, vegan eating. That's the ideal, okay? That's why this is a website. Lifestylemedicine.love is another website, and that's what love stands for. And this is solely dedicated to total health optimization. So it's like a whole other level from our first nonprofit that we started, okay? Just to kind of, and this one, even though we started it like 3 years ago, we still haven't done much work with it yet. We're doing most of the work with the events still. We're still trying to introduce people. We're doing both.
You can choose lifestylemedicine.love for your Amazon Smiles.
Yes, and we'd appreciate that if you do. Just go to our website, either lifestylemedicine.love or aPlantBasedDiet.org, click on give. Every time you buy something on Amazon, you have to click through there. You guys know how it works? You have to click through there. The same prices for you, it's just that some money will go back to the 501c3.
So that's how we can keep educating the public
Yes,
about
yes.
the benefits of a plant-based diet,
'Cause-
because we're volunteers.
If you even believe half of what I told you, you realize what kind of a job we have to convince people,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we got a lot of work to do.
So you can follow us on Instagram at plantbasedevents.info.
Yeah, all that stuff. And that's me.
Yeah.
I'm a lifestyle nutritionist. Like I said, I'm talking about the food, which is 80% of everything that is going to make your life better.
So, there's our email if you have any questions, and you can also, we got your emails here, we'll give you updates on upcoming events with our newsletter.
Yeah, that's right. If you want to get on it, that's right here. It's a smaller piece of paper here. If you give us your email address, it will only be used to notify you of local events happening that we are working with a nonprofit. That's it. You know, that's all. The only time you'll ever hear from us, and you'll hear from us too, because I'll send an email blast out to remind you guys when we're taking RSVPs for the La Miraja dinner, which we'll probably announce officially maybe tomorrow, but definitely by Monday. I just don't know when yet. But once we release them, like I said, we only have 40 tickets, and that's it, or 40 reservations. You don't have to buy them in advance. You have to make an actual reservation. What you have to do.
Any questions?
Yeah, questions, yeah. Please,
You have to give up Greek yogurt?
No,
Well,
there's
Greek
all
yogurt-
milk yogurt.
it's the plant-based or animal product version. Because I used to eat that all the time. I'm gonna say, because that is generally a low-fat, high-protein, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
In the animal product version. The problem is that it has no fiber in it, because the animal products have fiber, right? And it has the protein that causes cancer in humans.
Casey.
So, but like Denise said, you can get a plant-based version of that. You can get a plant-based version of almost everything.
Plant-based version of yogurt?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Dairy yogurt. Do you know the brand name of a plant-based
What's it
yogurt?
taste like?
I don't know because I don't eat it. Like I said, that's to me, I'm focusing on health optimization. That's more like a food-like product because I don't recognize that as a plant when I look at that form, right? So I don't know that much, but
No, I think Stephanie put some in our salad
So-
dressing.
Silk makes one,
silk. Okay.
but you have to be
Where do you get
careful
it?
that you get the one with no sugar added.
Where do you buy it?
It's in regular grocery
Markets will
stores.
have it.
I thought
Go to
almond.
Whole Foods, they'll sell all these.
Whole Foods. Okay.
And also Sprouts.
Or
Sprouts. Okay. So there you go. Talk to these guys. They would know. Yeah.
Okay, and so like
Yeah.
whole grains, Brett, go ahead.
So, a self-confessed vegetable hater, sort of.
I
So
know you
I
select- I know you
challenge,
select-
I really challenge to eat a lot of veggies, and I know it's good for
She
me.
said vegetable what?
Do you spice it up a lot, or how, I mean,
Yeah, that's how I look at it. Denise, you go ahead.
Yeah, when I go out to Indian restaurants, a lot of the dishes that they have are already vegetarian. And even Ethiopian restaurants know how to spice their legumes and veggies and,
I mean, just like regular everyday, I mean, pepper, you know.
You mean hot spice or like
No,
just like
just
a
regular.
flavor spice?
Just your flavor spice.
Yeah, well-
Any way to make it more palatable.
Yeah, well, definitely. I think you're on the right track because I don't eat meat and I haven't for a long time. But from what I remember, when you flavor your meat, it's with plants, right? If you were to put like a sauce or something, it's plants. So the plants and the spices have all that in it. Otherwise, you wouldn't put that on the meat. You just eat the meat straight.
So for example, a salad,
Yeah,
to eat a plain piece of lettuce, to me is just
yeah.
anything.
Yeah, well, we found, like, we travel a lot, okay, like I said, and we do eat a lot of raw, so we're eating salads every so often, and we only found one dressing that we really like, it's at Sprouts, actually, Denise can tell you.
It's a spicy mango coconut dressing that doesn't have any sugar, oil, or salt in it, or very low.
Actually, it has some sugar,
It's super
but
spicy.
oil, no salt, very low fat, if you like a spice to it too. This is good, this is really good, I mean, it's good for you, and it tastes good, and we put it on anything we eat with a salad, really, that's the only dressing we use these days, I think, right? Because we don't have the time to make our own, otherwise we'd make our own, like, a lot of people do.
I use the balsamic vinegar.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not bad for you.
it's nice
Balsamic
flavor
vinegar in
on
there.
salad.
Just make sure that don't add any, the oil and salt are always a concern. Added oil, added salt, just read the label, just make sure, it probably doesn't have much in it in that form, but a lot of the salad dressings have, they add oil and salt.
How about like whole grain breads? I know like you eat the steel oats.
Okay, well, are you talking about bread in general?
Yes.
Okay. I know you're not gonna like this too. A lot of stuff I said, people don't like.
Gotta check.
But have you ever found bread in nature growing?
Well, it's made by,
You ever seen it just laying out, just naturally?
no, but it's been
Okay,
around
so
for
it's
a
not,
long
right,
time.
yes, so it's not food is grown. So it's processed. All bread is highly processed. Just like oil, you will never find it in nature. And if you've picked up on at least if you agree with at least some of the things I've said, you'll recognize why you need to go back to that food is grown as close as you possibly can. So you can have a treat, and we have some bread, we do, but it's not a staple of our diet. It's not something we have on a regular basis, just like I wouldn't eat any other processed food on a regular basis. Just look at, but there are ways to do it better and worse, right? Like you say, like organic, whole grain, the least amount of added ingredients, but my guess is if you look at the ingredients, you're gonna be shocked as to what they put in there. You're probably not gonna know what half the stuff is.
Right, but I know sourdough, a lot of times they say that's healthy.
Well, again,
I'm
I would
over
have to
here.
go back to the ingredient list and know exactly what they're putting in there, because when something is that processed, they usually have at least 10 ingredients in there, I would say.
When we
At
went through
least.
the PCRM 21-day kickstart, there was only one bread that we saw at Mom's Organic Market in Virginia. It was a really dark sprouted green Ezekiel bread.
Yeah, and it doesn't taste like regular, it doesn't have the mouthfeel. Okay, that's another thing I wanted to mention to you. What I'm saying, and what I will continue to say and have said, is very difficult, all right? And the reason why is because we're all designed for this mouthfeel. All these products are engineered, okay, to a certain mouthfeel, to explode the taste buds. The salt explodes your taste buds, okay, it does. So does the sugar, so does a bunch of other stuff they throw in there, probably chemicals that I have no idea what they are, and I can't tell you what they are. But they're not food. So you have to outthink your taste buds. That's what the challenge here is. You have to immerse yourself in knowledge, because I guarantee you, the more you dive into this, if you haven't taken a dive into it, you're going to be like, why are we doing this? It doesn't make any sense. Well, it's because we live in a capitalist society. Everything's a business, and they realize they can hook you on it with your taste buds. So you have to outthink it. You have to be wiser than that. You have to be able to tell your taste buds that I'm not doing this, rather than the other way around. And that is incredibly, incredibly difficult.
Back to the veggies, we just had some peppers today and cucumber and
We did have that, yeah, that was, we found that our Whole Foods, and the reason why we're okay with that one is because, low sodium, right? Low fat. Because most of those processed dips and things, right? Yeah, whether it's salad dressings or some other kind of dip, they're usually high fat and high added salt.
Kite Hill tzatziki sauce comes in a container right next to the hummuses. It's pretty good and not bad for you. Tzatziki.
Tzatziki, it's like a non-dairy. It's like something else we should say is like all the things that you enjoyed as an animal product version, you can easily enjoy as a plant product version. I'm not going to claim that it will necessarily optimize your health, but I'm just saying that to tell you that you don't have to say I can't ever have that anymore. You can have something that tastes just like it.
Doesn't tzatziki sauce have dairy in it though?
This one is made with almond milk.
Yeah, this is one of these imposters, right? It looks very similar and tastes very similar to the dairy tzatziki. It's just that it has no animal products in it at all. There's so many things out there. Like when I started the nonprofit in 2014, there was hardly anything available. It was really bad. Unless you were in the produce section, there was just no choices. But nowadays, there is a replacement for everything that you enjoy, right? You could find a replacement, or you can easily reproduce that yourself. Or really just find one in the store. Tzatziki, yogurt, ice cream, cheese, milk. All without animal products in it. And the meats, right? The faux meats, there's faux meats and all kinds. It tastes just like what you're used to.
Not that great for you, but.
Right.
You both have done a really good job. I've been a plant-based for 7 years.
Excellent.
And
It's almost longer than me. Well, it's about the same time, right?
it really takes time to adjust to this.
Yes.
You know, I forget how many months it takes to get away from sugar and away from fat.
Any habit, I'd say you've got to give any habit change at least 60 days. Okay? Like, so you can consider that changed. Like 60 days of not doing it anymore. That could be a very long process. Right? But then you mentioned 7 years. I also mentioned in the book that most people believe that it takes about 7 years for every cell in your body to regenerate. So at this point in time, you probably completely regenerated with new cells that don't involve animal products now. So like, you also hear, I know that I'm familiar with like AA and stuff, they say, some of those people say that you should wait till somebody stops drinking alcohol for 5 years before they're considered sober or whatever, before they're going to act in a way that is the new person. And a lot of that is also the regeneration of the cells in the body and reforming of new habits. So it takes, just recognize that even if I tell you my cholesterol went down, how many points? 40 points or something like that, 35 in 3 weeks. It takes a lot longer than that for you to understand the new you, But so you're there now, though. You've gone that long.
Yeah, it really helps if you can have support of other people.
Yes, that's why we started the nonprofit, because I didn't know anybody that was vegan or plant-based or no animal products. I didn't know anybody. Right, and let me also stress to you guys, we didn't put it up here. Okay, if you want more people, couple of things, couple of different options. Number one is obviously we have these events coming up, like we told you about. Number two is if you guys are on social media, we have some fairly large groups on Facebook, if you happen to be on that platform. We have what's called a vegan group, veganswfl.org. This can be found on our main nonprofit site, aPlantBasedDiet.org, under local communities that we have. Veganswfl.org is a Facebook group of just local Southwest Florida people that are into life without animal products. Not necessarily health, just no animal products, okay? We have, I think, almost 5,000 people in that group. 5,000, okay? And then if you want to learn about local people also that are into health optimization, we have another group for that on Facebook. It's called swfllifestyle.org. Lifestyle is kind of like, that's the key, is adopting the right lifestyle. We have a little over 1,000 people in that group that are local to Southwest Florida that are interested in optimizing their health. And you can use that as a resource. You can go on there, you can ask questions of all kinds. That's the whole reason the group's there. And then we try to do the in-person meetings too. Like you guys are doing here, you're doing a great job, and the Blue Zone's doing a great job. And we might be interested in helping to facilitate other meetings here. That like, for us, our energies are best expended in a meeting of like-minded individuals that just want to improve their health, okay? That's it. Like, whatever level that is, whatever level you're at, we don't care. There's always something to be learned, and I always learn stuff too by getting involved with people like that. Because sometimes you realize that you think of the people closest to you, and they're like, well, they don't care, The rest of of my family, the rest of my family literally doesn't really care. Or even our kids, they don't care. You know, like, they don't want to hear any of this stuff that we have to say. But we know that there are individuals, maybe like some of yourselves, that want to form a group like that, and we would love to participate in that. You know, because I understand the value, and there's a chapter in the book too about the 5 people you hang out with the most, because that's one whole chapter, because no one can escape it. You become the average of the 5 people you hang around with. So if you want to change something in your life, look at the 5 people they're probably holding you back. You got to go find some other people in your circle. So that we fully recognize that. You know, we will do whatever we can to support that.
One other thing I want to tell you is that I, 5 years ago, met a cardiologist, and she is an intervention cardiologist, which means she puts in stents. Once she read all the research and really got involved in this, she quit that practice. And she opened a practice where she, a couple times a week, will fix a meal and serve it to people, and has all kinds of
Is
recipes.
it local here?
No, she's in Cape Coral.
Well, that's not that far. Southwest Florida. Yeah, this is our biggest area. I want to make sure everyone knows too. Southwest Florida, we have more contacts here than anywhere. Not only just in the plant-based section, but we know people in the restaurant industry. Like obviously, we're talking about restaurants. We know people that are in restaurant groups that are not necessarily plant-based or anything, but we realize that's what we got to be. We need to be there because that's where people are eating the food, and if the food is causing the problem, we got to do what we can to help.
You should invite her to speak at one of our veg festivals.
Yeah, we would love it. We would absolutely
I'll
love
get her
it.
name for you.
Yes.
Okay, that would be great. We had a doctor speak at one of our veg fests last year who used to be a geneticist, and he thought that cancer was genetic, and once he found out that it wasn't, he quit
Yeah,
doing all
that
that
brings up 2
research.
points. Both of you said. Number one is genes. A lot of people will say that. I thought I had my dad's gene, remember? My armpits smell, my feet smell, my breath is bad. Okay, I have wax in my ears, all stuff my dad had. That's because we had the same habits, because he taught me all the habits. Okay, and I want to tell you that you can change the expression of your genes by changing your habits. Just like we talked about how, we talked about what it sounds like a reversal or a cure for MS. How do you do it? You just change your habits, and you change the expression of your genes in your own body. Yeah, I mean, it's powerful what you can do. You just have to immerse yourself in the knowledge. That's the thing. A lot of people don't want you to. And another thing that you mentioned I wanted to say is there's Dr. Kim Williams, he's the head of one of the cardiology groups, right, in the United States. He says there's 2 types of cardiologists. And we mentioned Dr. Esselstyn from the Cleveland Clinic. He says not even 1 single drop of oil. He says 2 types of cardiologists. The ones that have read the research and the ones that haven't.
That's true.
Because the minute you read the research, what do you have to do? You can no longer do that anymore, right? Well, thank you so much. Let me also mention, the book is free. liveto150.org. It's liveto150.org. It's a playlist on our YouTube channel. It's 152 videos all in order. It's not even printed. You just can watch it. You can listen to it when you're in the car. She's going to go back. She's going to go back to the middle, or to the beginning. So it's totally free. That's what I want to stress. You don't have to buy anything. And you can pass that link along to anybody else. Live to 150. Yeah. Live to150.org. And if you can't remember that, if you remember aPlantBasedDiet.org, there's a tab on there. There's so much information, and one of the tabs is the book. So thank you so much. And address us after the meeting or email us, anything. We are happy to help, and hopefully we left a good impression. And you'll have a better life because of it. I hope.
We're going to move on to the brownies.
Oh yeah, brownies and